106 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it. I've always loved you.
Of the council will now be heard.
Guilty. Guilty. Guilty.
Damage you've done to yourself is way beyond anything else that can happen to you from me or any other judge that would be sentencing you in this criminal case. You are now a permanently convicted felon. Your family who loves you and supports you, I only want to use the word forgive because forgiveness isn't even necessary. They're with you so much, they're so tight-knit, but you have to live with the fact that you really put them through a ringer. You've embarrassed your valuable friends in high places, the elected public officials, people in the media. You've embarrassed them. You have to live with that. I don't know if those relationships can be repaired. You've become toxic in your own workplace. Your career future is uncertain at very best. It was really on a rocket ship to success, and now you've turned yourself into riches to rags, and it's so unfortunate. Your very name has become an adverb for lying, and I cannot imagine what could be worse than that. I'm trying to consider who you are as a person, how you got here, how somehow you strayed away from your family values. You let that dark, narcissistic, selfish, and arrogant side come out. And you persisted with it for years on this case. I'm fashioning the following sentence, and here's your sentence. I'm sentencing you to 30 months felony probation, and the probation is going to be to this court. You're going to be allowed to travel wherever you want. You do not have to live in the state of Illinois. You can report by phone. I know that if you're going to try to make a living and do some of the things you do, you may have to go to other places in New York and Los Angeles. You can do those things. You will pay restitution to the city of Chicago in the amount of $120,106. You are fined $25,000, which is the maximum fine. And you will spend the first 150 days of your sentence in the Cook County Jail. And that will start today, right here, right now.
No, I would just like to say to Your Honor that I am not suicidal. That's what I would like to say.
Okay.
I am not suicidal.
Okay.
I am not suicidal. I am innocent, and I am not suicidal. If I did this, then it means that I stuck my fist in the fears of Black Americans in this country for over 400 years and the fears of the LGBTQ community. Your Honor, I respect you and I respect the jury, but I did not do this. And I am not suicidal. And if anything happens to me when I go in there, I did not do it to myself. And you must all know that. I respect you, Your Honor. I respect your decision. Jail time. I am not suicidal.
Okay. Mr. Uche, let me inquire, are there any post-sentencing motions you care to present? Court is adjourned.
I am not suicidal. I am not suicidal. And I am innocent. I could have said that I was guilty a long time ago.
May I repeat, he's not suicidal. He's not suicidal. Hey, man, he wanted drama with his sentencing. He got it. I hope you all enjoyed that very special edit of the Jussie Smollett, and not indictment, or his sentencing, the Jussie Smollett sentencing. We have a very juicy show for you tonight, very juicy Smollett show for you, in covering all of the drama while the rest of the world falls apart around us. This is what we're dealing with here in Chicago. So welcome to another Friday night edition of Chicago Corner. I am awaiting a co-host. Unfortunately, my previously scheduled co-host had an emergency at home, was not able to join me. And as you all know, I don't like talking by myself here. So hopefully my other guest co-host will be able to join us momentarily. That special open was cut by Warren Dearman of War Deer Entertainment. And I want to thank him because Ed and I had an opportunity to go on his channel the other night, Extra Bulla, to do a fun little interview on everything we do here at Chicago Corner. In fact, hopefully Warren will be my co-host if he's able to jump in here at some point. So in the meantime, let me get started with our extra juicy coverage of the Jussie Smollett sentencing that happened this week. So much drama. This guy still is unwilling to acknowledge what he did. He's such a narcissist, in such complete denial of what went down. In the meantime, though, I've enjoyed spending time on Reddit to hear what people across Chicago think about stories in our news cycle. And I was able to gather several, I think, very relevant comments regarding this whole Jussie Smollett drama. And I want to quote some of them for you because I think that these Redditors make some very good points, especially given the fact that Kim Foxx is now doubling down that this was all about revenge, not about justice. And we'll get to that in a moment too. But on Kim Foxx, one Redditor noted, the prosecutor in a normal society, the law is the law and justice is blind. If we believe someone is guilty, we prosecute them. Kim Foxx, I don't know. He seems like a really good guy and I'm friends with his sister and he already lost his job and seems embarrassed over this. I'm going to let him off with a warning because I don't really think these laws are fair. Another Redditor commented, he acted like this because he's never been forced to sit still and keep his mouth shut while someone told him the truth about himself to his face. This was a middle-aged temper tantrum. Anyone who is still acting out like this at 40 years old has some serious mental behavioral problems that need a closer look. And I bet if you separated and talked to those family members, they'd say he's been acting like this since he was a little boy. My guess is the parents were self-important, appearance-oriented people who let these kids do whatever they wanted. Parents of young kids, the lying, the outbursts, get a handle on that now. It won't just go away. And at 40, I don't know if there's much that can be done about it. This might just be who he is. Another Redditor comments, this undercuts and does harm. And I think that this is the biggest takeaway from this whole situation with this idiot. If he thought he was doing Black Lives Matter and the social justice movement a favor, all he did was hobble it once more because, as the Redditor shares, this undercuts and does harm to real progressive movements for people who actually have had wrong convictions or too heavy of sentences. The prosecutor going this far to defend someone who invented a sensational crime to further their career is crazy. Lumping Jussie in with people who were arrested for weed or petty crimes is absurd. Another comment, this is the thing I'm most pissed about in these cases, and I include false rape allegations, etc. for this purpose. When you lie about this shit, you make it so much harder for actual cases of discrimination, hate crimes, sex crimes, etc. to get taken seriously. For every one Smollett case, you cast doubt on hundreds of real cases. And finally, there is only one winner in this case, not Jussie, not Fox, not the court, not society, not even those two clown bad actors. The only winner is that Subway shop for the free advertising of its open hours and the proof its sandwiches are so good, even a crime victim keeps a grip on them. I'm going to head into the live chat to see what some of, War Deer, I sent you the link in email, but I'll send it to you again. Let me, give me a moment, everybody. I have to send a show link to my hopeful co-host here who will be joining us in a moment. Kathy Powers, yes. Oh, Kimmy Fox. Yeah. She's doubling down, Kathy. And I'm interested in what you mentioned earlier in the chat about Lori Lightfoot canceling those safety town halls. I want to If you have an email on that, send it to me because we could actually add that story to later in the show. Very, very good point. Will he be doing more time than Michael Madigan? Probably. I'm expecting Michael Madigan to get nothing but a slap on the wrist for what he is being indicted on by the feds. Give me a moment here, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, I am sending something to Mr. Warren Dearman. All right, Warren, link's been sent. Let's see what else we got in here in the live chat. That's about it so far. Is this the end of Smolier Gate? Oh, and our special guest host, who looks like he's coming from Chicago, has arrived. Mr. Warren Dearman, also known as Uncle Warren.
The magic of television. How you doing, Jerry?
Yeah,
Long time
fantastic.
Long time no see.
Well, what's it been? 24 hours?
24 hours. You're lucky. I've just now recovered from my hangover from last night. So it's a miracle.
You know, I was really well. I'm very, very grateful that you could join in. I was worried maybe you had another broadcast to do tonight, and I'd be reaching out to you like at the last minute, and you were already booked. But thank you. My friend Art was going to join in, but he had a boiler burst at his home, so he and his family are dealing with that right now. And we only found out about it like 15 minutes to showtime. So I'm very, very grateful you can join us tonight. And I know we were talking a little bit last night over at Extra Bulla about the juicy details about the Juicy Smolier case. What does Kathy Powers here say? He'll die in protracted litigation, probably. Yeah, Madigan, you're talking about there. Well, let me go to the story since I've got the screen up, and Warren, I can kind of bring you up to speed on what happened today, along with the sentencing intro that I shared a little while ago. So this comes from the Chicago Tribune. This is what I'm talking about Kim Foxx doubling down. The prosecutor who didn't take this seriously to begin with, and I think does incredible damage to anybody that's got a legitimate claim of assault, rape, anything that needs serious investigation, while this clown is basically making it easy for everybody to dismiss other people's allegations or claims because they're going to say maybe they're pulling a Juicy Smolier. Kim Foxx says jail sentence for Jussie Smolier might feel like revenge as she stands by her office's early handling of the case. Staunchly defending her office's handling of the Jussie Smollett case, I don't even know how to pronounce his name. Smollett. I guess I'm going to go.
I've heard Smollett. He's probably like it's probably like Smollett or something like that. We just don't know.
He wants it to be Smollett to sound all artsy fartsy, but it's probably really Smollett. So maybe I should just start calling him Smollett. All right, staunchly defending her office's handling of the Jussie Smollett case, Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx said in an exclusive interview with the Tribune late Thursday that the 150-day jail sentence handed down by a judge could be questioned as quote-unquote revenge against the actor rather than justice. Did you see the sentencing video, Warren? I just showed her when I opened the show.
I was hastily getting set up, but I didn't manage to catch a little bit of it. So 5 months, he's lucky actually, to get only 5 months for what he did, right?
I think that the complete denial that this guy's got, he respects the judge, he respects the court. That's why he started screaming he wasn't going to commit suicide, because he's so important that they're going to kill him in jail.
Right.
And that he committed suicide because that's just how important Jussie Smollett is. I mean, the outer narcissism of this character to even take it this far instead of just, leaving the court with his tail between his legs as he should is what's just, it's astonishing. But Kim Foxx says that it could be questioned as revenge. Even in this guy's complete denial and lack of self-awareness, Kim Foxx says it could be questioned as revenge rather than justice. While Foxx told the Tribune she was confident in Smollett's guilt, okay, so then why is this revenge instead of justice? She said her office was justified in dropping the initial charges and questioned whether the former Empire actor's second prosecution was worth the years-long effort to secure a conviction. It was. It was. Because what it does is it sends a message, don't fake this shit when real stuff happens to people. And it has to be taken seriously. You cannot run to the police, waste their resources, especially on a hate crime that, look, Chicago is the most segregated, hyper-segregated city in the nation. But his claims that a bunch of two guys jumped on him and poured bleach on him and wrapped a rope around his neck, I don't even know that would happen in the whitest neighborhood in the city, but I don't know. The drama involved in this.
Yeah, this is like the classic yelling fire in a theater. And I despite my background, I do live in New York City, where there is a lot of hate crimes here, and they are real hate crimes, particularly against the Asian community. We're seeing a lot of attacks on elderly Asian people, and so for somebody to fraudulently say that, that he was the victim of a hate crime, it not only just wastes time, it just stirs up even more anger all around,
And Warren, a lot of people also suspect this was done for the sake of rescuing his career, because I think he was either, his character was leaving the show or he was in some kind of contract negotiations. This was all self-serving, completely self-serving. You decide you're going to go. And look, you know what? Given the unrest in the city of Chicago for the past several years, this had the potential to cite a riot if cooler heads didn't prevail and realize that this guy was full of shit from the get-go. But that's what he was willing to risk for his sense of entitlement and narcissism. The article goes on to say Smollett's sentence ended up being far harsher than most low-level felony penalties for defendants with nonviolent background, she said during an hour-long interview at an art gallery on Chicago's South Side. You know what? So what? Fucking what? Did we get vengeance today, or did we get justice? Fox said. Some people would be like, yeah, absolutely. He got what was coming to him. He lost his job. He can't work. People made fun of him. He did that. Then there will be those who will say, is 150 days in Cook County Jail, probably in solitary confinement and the probation, is the restitution fair? Sure. But that doesn't feel like accountability to me. Feels like revenge. Hey, if this guy's got 150 days in solitary, maybe it'll give him some time to do some of the soul searching he needs to do and get his shit together if he's not willing to do it in therapy and drag the rest of the city of Chicago and the racial tension we already have here into a pressure cooker to serve his own ends, his own agenda.
Well, you hit it on the nail on the head too when you're talking about like a narcissistic actor who is just craving attention, like you said, for possibly to try to revive his career or what have you. Stick him in solitary confinement for 5 months, and it's just the opposite. He gets no attention. So it's just like, it's kind of like a double punishment. Yeah, you're getting him off the street, but then you're also depriving him of the attention that he probably did all this for in the first place.
Sadly, I don't think the solitary confinement is going to do anything to get this guy to, consider what he did. I think he's just going to come out angrier, and somehow or another I think that there are those who are going to rally around him and revive his career. Sadly. People fail upward too much in our society, Warren. That's the big problem.
Yeah, he might get a book deal out of this or something like that, just
while he will still insist that he didn't do this.
Right.
While Smollett's attorney requested that he be held in protective custody, which can take different forms in Cook County, the jail ended solitary confinement practices in 2016. Fox also addressed Special Prosecutor Dan Webb's scathing report about her office's handling of the case, which she said was misleading. Fox said the questions he raised could have been answered if he had conducted follow-up interviews with her office. Smollett was sentenced Thursday to 30 months of probation, the first 150 days of which he must serve in Cook County Jail. He must pay more than $120,000 in restitution to the city and a $25,000 fine. The marathon hearing ended in dramatic fashion Thursday. Smollett, who had declined to speak earlier in the hearing, instead loudly declared his innocence after Judge James Lynn announced the sentence. He was led into custody right afterward, raising a fist and shouting that he was not suicidal and that any harm that might come to him inside Cook County Jail would not be of his own doing. You know what, Warren? I spent so much time preparing that video on his sentencing. I want to add it again. So let's watch it one more time, everybody.
Please.
The council will now be heard.
Guilty.
I did see this part.
Guilty.
The damage you've done to yourself is way beyond anything else that can happen to you from me or any other judge that would be sentencing you in this criminal case. You are now a permanently convicted felon. Your family, who loves you and supports you.
Special thanks to John Williams for the dramatic scoring from Superman, the movie.
You so much. They're so tight-knit, but you have
That
to
is
live
a
with the
nice
fact that
touch.
you really put them through a ringer. You've
The
embarrassed
dramatic
your
scene.
valuable friends.
I love
the
Kathy's
places,
comment.
the elected
Yep,
public officials,
absolutely.
people in the media. You
Oh,
can
well, that's from
embarrass
Lori
them.
Lightfoot?
You have to live with that.
Wow,
And
Lori
those
Lightfoot came
relationships-
down hard on Jussie.
relationships can be repaired.
I have to say,
Become
Kathy, though, I
toxic
do
in
agree
your
with that.
workplace.
You know, even a broken clock is
Your
right
career,
twice a day.
Future is uncertain at very best. It was really
What he did
rocket ship,
was not
success, and now
the
you've
right
turned
thing to
yourself
do.
into riches
I
and
can't
rags.
do it as good as you can,
And
Jerry.
it's
I'm
so
sorry.
unfortunate.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do
Your
it.
very name
The criminal conviction of Jussie Smollett by a jury of his peers in today's sentencing should send a clear message to everyone in Chicago that false claims and allegations will not be tolerated. Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
has become an adverb for lying. And I cannot imagine what could be worse than that. Trying to consider who you are as a person, how you got here.
I'll tell you, this judge was dead on, man.
Somehow you strayed away.
I give this judge a lot of credit for putting up a mirror to this guy.
Narcissistic, selfish, and arrogant
Yeah.
side come out.
Narcissistic, selfish.
And you persisted with it for years on this case. I'm fashioning the following sentence, and here's your sentence. I'm sentencing you to 30 months felony probation, and the probation is going to be to this court. You're going to be allowed to travel wherever you want. You do not have to live in the state of Illinois.
Even that's
You
lucky.
can report by phone. I know that if you're going to try to make a living and do some of the things you do, you may have to go to other places in New York and Los Angeles. You can do those things. You will pay
The things other people aren't allowed to do when they're convicted
the
like
amount of
this.
$120,000.
Right.
He's still getting some special treatment.
You are
The non-celebrities
fined
don't get that kind of
$25,000,
treatment.
which is the maximum fine. And you will spend the first 150 days of your sentence in the Cook County Jail. And that will start today, right here, right now.
Mm.
I'm not suicidal. That's the first thing he jumps to. I'm not suicidal.
Okay,
I'm not suicidal.
okay.
I am not suicidal. I am innocent, and I am not suicidal. If I did this,
He
it
thinks
means
he's
that I
still on
stuck my
TV.
fist in the fears
Yeah.
of
He
black
thinks
Americans
he's on Empire right now.
and the fears
Yeah.
of the LGBTQ
It's like, no, this ain't a TV show. This is
This- yeah.
this is real life, brother.
I did not do this, and I am not suicidal. And if anything happens to me when I go in there, I did not do it.
Heaven forbid anything happens to
You
him.
must all
All right, that's too harsh, but
I respect
Does he
Your
think
Honor.
that
I respect
somebody
the judge. I respect the judge.
does he think somebody in the joint's got beef with him that's going to ice him? I don't understand what it's Jesse Smollett or Smollett. You know, who's got who's got beef with him?
Maybe he thinks that somebody doing him in the joint would be some kind of badge of honor because he's a celebrity. I don't know. I mean, here we go. Off to Cook County Jail.
He's going to the Cook County Jail to Phantom Zone. I thought for sure he was going to do a Pacino from Injustice for All. You're out of order.
You're out of order, Judge. You're out of. This whole courtroom is out of order. Oh, that was Carlito. I'm sorry, I was doing Carlito from Carlito's Al Pacino and Carlito's Way. Kathy Powers.
So which could almost go into Attica, Attica, Attica. Hooah.
Okay,
Sorry,
so Kathy says Everybody feels so good, feeling better than Jussie and Joy, then reflect upon Trump. Just I don't know what happened with Trump today, Kathy, but share in the chat. I also want to share something else that I think, again, as we laugh about this, it's not a laughing matter, but I have to say that I really believe Dave Chappelle put it in the correct perspective.
I'm just afraid of being attacked. Happens to the best of us. Don't ever forget what happened to that French actor. You know what I'm talking about? Juicy Smouillet. He's a very famous French actor.
And that's where I got the Juicy Smouillet.
Y'all never heard of Juicy Smouillet? Juicy Smouillet is an actor from France. And he became famous on a show called Empire. One night, he was in Chicago late at night and was the victim.
This animation is the best. Have you seen this before, Warren?
Oh, no, this first time.
Enjoy.
He was the victim of a racist and homophobic attack. You see, Juicy Smouillet is gay and he is black, not just French.
God bless Chappelle.
Oh, crazy story.
The baguette.
Apparently, when he was walking down the street late at night, two white men came out of the shadows with MAGA hats on, beat him up, tied a rope around his neck, called him all kinds of niggas, and put some bluff into the night. This shit was like international news. And everybody was furious, especially in Hollywood. It's all over everybody's Twitter feed and Instagram page. Justice for Juicy and all this shit.
Justice for Juicy.
The whole country was up in arms. He was talking about it all the time on the news. And
yes, they were.
African Americans.
Remember that?
Like, oddly
yeah, I do remember that.
We were so quiet about this shit that the gay community started accusing African American community of being homophobic for not supporting him. What they didn't understand is that we were supporting him with our silence. Because we understood that this nigga was clearly lying.
Sorry about the N-word, everybody. Forgot it was in there.
None of these details added up at all. He said he's walking down the street in Chicago and white dudes come up to him and say, "Hey man, aren't you that f***ing nigga from Empire?" Does that sound like how white people talk? No white people. They don't talk like that. Are you that f***ing nigga from Empire? They would never say that. It sounds like something that I would say.
Did you ever see that skit?
That was my favorite, the head blowing up.
Watch Empire.
Oh my god.
He played a blind Ku Klux Klansman on his show, not knowing he was actually black.
But this time we even felt sorry for the police. Can you imagine if you was a police veteran taking this kid's police report? Okay, Mr. Smouillet, please tell me what happened. All right. Well, 2 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
You left the house at 2 a.m. It's minus 16 degrees. Right. You were walking. You're walking. All right. And where were you going? Subway. Sandwiches? That's when the men approached you? Did you see them? You have any? Okay, where they have on? MAGA hats. MAGA hats on in Chicago.
In River North?
Excuse me one second, Mr. Smouillet. Frank, come here for a second. Find out where Kanye West was last night.
I just told you. Juicy Smollett. Juicy Smollett. Defiant to the end. Well,
he did. When he was like going out, he was like, I am not suicidal. I will not do the suicides. None of them.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, dude. Show's over.
Dare I say, I think he'll be fine.
Oh no, Jerry. Oh, I hope that soap is on a rope and it does not descend towards the floor because, well, we know how that story ends. Yep. I don't want to get personal about my past, but anyway, we won't go there. I mean, what happened? What? Just do your $150 and then you're done. Basically, this probation's nothing. It's not even probation.
Off to write your book. Off to do all the things that get all of the advantages an actor of your reputation and caliber is going to get once this is all over with. Unfortunately, fail upward.
He does his $150, and then basically it's just like, okay, don't lie about being the victim of a hate crime again, and you're golden. I mean, I don't know if anybody will ever hire him in the biz, though.
Oh, I'm sure they will. Now, what I find interesting, too, is Kamala, at the time, who called it a modern-day lynching, and she pretty quickly ended up throwing him under the bus after that. Once the investigation facts came out, she was disappointed by Jussie Smollett's attempt, allegedly staging an attack. But a lot of people thought that he was encouraged or put up to do this for, I don't know, deep state agendas. Who knows? Interesting, though.
Right. I mean, it's not like there wasn't like any number of people who wanted to like put another, metaphorical black eye on Trump and the Trumpers, so, it's just kind
that's because this happened before the election, right? Because this did happen before the election when Kamala was running as Joe's vice presidential candidate. So you have to wonder. There was a lot of crazy shit going down before the election. Not that any of us wanted to see Trump elected, least of all me. But then
this was 2019, right? That this happened. This happened in 2019. So she was in the midst of running her own campaign.
That's right.
At the time,
that's right.
And I'm
before
before
she failed upward into the vice presidential slot.
I was going to say a lot of good that did her since she didn't even get one delegate in the race, but the consolation prize, she ended up as vice president. So yep. Pretty crazy.
Well, all right. So we've spent a lot of time laughing about the juicy justice we saw meted out this week.
Juicy justice. I can't get juicy out of my head now. Every time you say juicy, I think of those sweatpants with the word juicy on the butt. Come on, Jerry.
Don't blame me.
Maybe
blame. You got to blame. It's Dave Chappelle's fault.
Maybe he'll wear those in jail. Then maybe he'll have like juicy sweatpants in jail. I don't know. I don't know what it's like in the joint. I keep my nose clean.
That's what she says. Okay. Kathy Powers wants to talk about Lori Lightfoot's ding dong again. I don't know.
Who doesn't?
As I said in the show that we covered that, I really didn't know that she had one, nor did I want to know that she had one. But clearly we know who wears the pants in that marriage. All right, so let's move on. Once again, as the world collapses around us and we're looking at the precipice of World War III, this is what we're screwing around talking about here at Chicago Corner.
Of course. Well, it's you gotta have a little fun in the apocalypse, I guess.
Oh my God!
You can't be all just fire and brimstone.
laughing, we'd have to be crying our eyes out. All right, so yeah, St. Paddy's Day weekend has begun, and clearly COVID is over with. I know you're excited about it. What are you going to be doing to celebrate this weekend? Or are you?
Well, I think I celebrated last night on the show. That was pretty much my St. Paddy's. And I don't have any of the fun green that the kids talk about, that electric lettuce. So I don't know, man. You know, I'm back in. I have been to a couple of St. Patrick's Day parades here in New York, and that's kind of like a one and done. You know, it was. I've been to Mardi Gras in New Orleans on Fat Tuesday. That was enough for me. And I've been to a St. Patrick's Day parade. I definitely don't want to. Although here in New York, though, they've kind of Disneyed it up a lot. It's not like the crazy, thumb to the nose. All right, I'm nice and hammered. Let's rock and roll with the fisticuffs. It's more kind of like, they keep everything under control. Yeah. I'm just going to lay low, enjoy it, probably turn something green around here. I don't know, just for fun.
I haven't been out for I can't remember the last time I was out for St. Patrick's celebration in town. But then again, I don't go out a lot. Capacity limits are gone, mask and vaccine card mandates are lifted, and parades are back on after the 2-year hiatus. That could mean more green for bars that rely on the festivities to create their biggest business days of the year. David Strauss, co-owner and operator of Sluggers at 3540 North Clark Street, said he's fired up for this weekend when many will celebrate St. Patrick's Day. The truth is, on St. Paddy's weekend in Chicago, it's an everything goes situation, Strauss said. For sure, I'm excited because we're going to feel at full strength again. Seth Gamino, general manager of the Irish Oak at 3511 North Clark Street, said he ordered an extra truckload of Jameson just to be safe. I anticipate overexcitement from people bottled up and ready to go, Gamino said. For an Irish tavern, St. Patrick's weekend is easily one of our most important. Green lights, four-leaf clovers, and signs for discounted Guinness were hung up around Clark Street this week. At Sluggers, Strauss put up just a few green steamers, saying people are going to come here anyway. Strauss has worked at St. Patrick's for more than 2 decades and said the weekend is its own microeconomy for bars across the city. I believe that. Sluggers on St. Patrick's Day weekend can make double, triple what a crazy Saturday Cubs game would be, Strauss said. People come in from out of town on Thursday, drink on Friday night, and ramp it up all day Saturday, passing through Sluggers in the thousands, Strauss said. Everybody counts on days like St. Patrick's Day, whether it's the bar owners, the servers, busboys, and barbacks. Everyone banks on these monster days, Strauss said. That's particularly important after the rough few years for bars, Strauss said. It's been a long 2 years of just grinding it out and working hard. You hope it goes smooth. Strauss said the pandemic has led to staff shortages at Sluggers. I used to drink at Sluggers a lot when I was in college. I actually lived around the corner, not right around the corner, but I lived over on Southport by the Music Box Theater. So me and my buds from college would always stop at Sluggers, or what was the other bar down the street? Oh gosh, why am I forgetting it now? Anyway, it's a great neighborhood, a lot of great bars there. But Strauss said he has a lineup of St. Paddy's vets ready to hold down the fort. Staffers will have to work all-day shifts, Strauss said. Guthrie's is the other great neighborhood bar not too far from Sluggers. And wrangling in young revelers can be hard work, bar owners said. There's always something where some kids do something stupid like get up on a table in the bar, then you yell at them like their parents have never before, and then they start crying, you get all embarrassed, and you got to throw them out, Strauss said. People have got to use their brains. Mike Pawlowski, a bartender at Roadhouse 66 Gas and Grill at 3748 North Clark Street, said the bar typically does around $25,000 in business on the Saturday before St. Patrick's Day. On Clark Street, lines form down the block and drinking starts at 9 a.m. It's a shit show the entire day, Pawlowski said. People puking by 10 a.m. A lot of stupid kids, just balls to the wall from morning to midnight. There's no stop. There's no breaks. We just try to run everything properly. Meantime, Gamino said he's got plenty of St. Patrick's Day stories at Irish Oak that might not make the newspaper. The bagpipers Gamino hired 1 year drank so much Guinness they didn't make it to their performance at other bars on the street. He's trying to have them back Saturday for the Irish Oak's Lepra Hanukkah, an 8-day run of special events leading up to St. Patrick's Day on March 17th.
Wait. Was it Lepra Hanukkah?
Lepra Hanukkah, an 8-day run of special events running up to St. Patrick's Day on March 17th. We start early in Chicago. Tomorrow's only the 11th. For 2 years now, we haven't had a proper St. Patty's Day. This year, it's kind of back to the way it was, Gamino said. My door guys will be dressing up like leprechauns. I have 2 outfits downstairs. They get so excited to put it on. All right.
That is crazy.
So I'm going to scroll. It's just a great day for business. Pulowski said, hopefully nothing too stupid happens. Yeah. Well, what strikes me about all this, though, is that, when the war in the Ukraine started, suddenly COVID is not as big a concern anymore. And I don't know if it should or shouldn't be. I mean, I still think that people should mask if they feel that they need to. We still have people with autoimmune illnesses that we have to protect. That's what that's all about. But it just kind of seems like we've gone back to normal. What's it like there in New York?
It's the same. They lifted all the restrictions. This past Monday was the first day of that. You still have to wear a mask on public transportation, and I think children 5 and under have to wear a mask in schools, in kindergarten, pre-K, that kind of thing. But I mean, think about you can talk about the timing about the Russia-Ukraine thing, but also these mandates, I think in both cities, they lifted about the same time, just in time for St. Patty's, which is huge in both of our cities, right?
Absolutely.
Huge for the tourists. So, and they said, we're not going to I'm pretty sure they said, we are not going to miss out on all this money again. We got to open up, so which kind of makes you think how seriously they were taking COVID in the first place. Was it really about our health? I don't think so.
Yeah, yeah, it should have been, but there are a lot of other agendas at place there. So I was sorry, I was distracted by the chat. Kathy said, can't people drink at home? Wait until you see the COVID fallout. I like this one from Ware Pilgrim. Hope the healthcare system has the luck of the Irish.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's St. Patty's Day. It's not Flag Day, y'all. It's this is a heavy drinking day. This is kind of like a Santa Con, only it's Irish people.
Yeah.
It's getting to blitzed and going bar to bar, and but it's a lot of money that like Chicago is gonna be missing out on if they did stick with those restrictions again. And I think they just said, look, we're losing too much money. This is a real
B&H customer story. Steph Manders came to B&H.
I'm sorry, Warren. I was queuing something else up.
Photography to the next level.
Why is this? Sorry. I'm sorry. I was queuing something.
Are you pimping B&H, Jerry?
No, I was getting another video ready to go. And of course on YouTube, the Chicago Corner channel has not got YouTube Premium, so they always pop up ads. So I didn't mean to pimp them at all. Sorry about that. But please, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I was just going to say, it gets to a point where like people's health is just kind of takes a back seat to the economy of especially the big cities like that. In the smaller towns, that's kind of a different story. But like Chicago, New York, tourism, especially around St. Patty's, because they didn't do anything last year, right? They didn't do it or like the last 2 years, right? So
they weren't willing to. And here's the other thing, our federal and state representatives, we did have some grants and SBA bailouts, but they, if they were worried about health, they should have paid places to stay closed. They should have paid people to stay home.
Right.
What they should have done. Now there's a rush to reopen the schools because, they double as babysitting facilities for all the people that have got to get back to work. In light of all the losses that happened for the past 2 years during the pandemic.
Yeah. And and then you take the cabin fever aspect into it too. People haven't been out and about, going, cutting loose like you would at St. Patrick's Day at the parades and the bars. And so it should be an interesting time. I mean, I'm going to stay indoors just for, cause I'm like you, I don't really go out that much anyway, but I'm definitely I'm treating this like New Year's Eve. I'm just going to stay home and look out the window and have a free show.
What part of New York do you live in?
I'm in Brooklyn in Fort Greene. I'm about 2 blocks north of the Barclays Center. So
Steve Rogers' old stomping grounds.
That's right. I got
Steve Rogers is.
I should have put my Captain America shirt on. I got it somewhere around here, but we'll just pretend like this is like evil Captain America.
My favorite Marvel character is Steve Rogers, Captain America.
Captain America. Did you like how he was portrayed in the Marvel movies?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I think Chris Evans is Steve Rogers in real life with his personality, his stance on so many political and social issues. It was the perfect casting. He just seems like an all-around decent guy, you know? I think that, you know, I don't know that was so much acting as much as them finding the right actor with a lot of the same qualities as Steve Rogers. So
and he does have America's ass.
He does have America's ass, you know. Yes. You know, taking things back a step, that we were talking about how it seems, you know, COVID is over with the Ukraine war starting, and how, you know, our representatives weren't that anxious to provide the right kind of support to all these businesses that ended up closing. Right, a lot of places had to close. Many of them were not eligible for whatever limited aid programs there were out there. But you know who is able to enrich themselves with the Ukraine war starting? Congress. This is kind of off the beaten path, but I pulled this link up because I sent it to my colleagues over at Hardlands Media at the last minute. I don't think they were able to cover it tonight, and I wasn't able to check into the show because I was getting ready for our show. But there's a YouTuber named Trey Collins. He is a Army officer, and he regularly covers financial news as it relates to meme stocks and AMC and GME. But he put out this video today that has to do with the stock market, the Ukraine war, and our elected representatives. And it made my blood boil. And even though this isn't a show that normally covers national stuff, I want to share this video because people need to know. I tweeted this also.
This is the really big groundbreaking stuff. And Unusual Whales, I don't know how he does this shit. I don't know how he comes up with this stuff. I don't know how he finds it. But this tweet, probably, I'm 95% sure is going to go viral. This is a big deal. This is huge. This right here is a prime example of you having your butthole spread open and somebody's fist just shoved straight down it. And the ethical grounds of this, to me, are so bad. So bad. I've talked about this before. Can you control the conflict between Russia and Ukraine? Absolutely not, right? If you're making money on that situation, that's totally, I mean, it's information that's out there. I think it's a fair thing to do, but it definitely makes you raise, questions. You raise your eyebrows, you think about it, whatever. The ethicality of it is up to each individual person. But the ethicality of this should not even be debatable. Check this out. Numerous politicians purchased oil and war stocks before the invasion of Ukraine, before it even happened, before soldiers stepped off and anything started happening, bullets started flying, missiles started flying, people were losing lives. Politicians were buying stocks.
The same politicians that didn't want to pay people to stay home and pay businesses to stay closed so more lives could be saved during these past 2 years.
You know why? Because they knew what was going to happen before it happened. Many were on committee privy to info regarding the invasion, including defense and energy. The positions they took have beat the market since November. You've got a bunch of different names here. Debbie Schultz, Virginia Fox, Thomas Carper, Robert Whitman. You can see the returns they made. 64%, 42%, 40%, 40%, 38, 37, 36, 34, 34, 28. I mean, this is just absurd. You can see the SPY down here has lost 9.92%. All these politicians have bought stocks related in some way, shape, or form.
The doers.
Come on.
The experts. The innovators. The game changers.
Damn commercials.
To energy or war before it began. Now, let me say this, right? Maybe, statistically speaking, out of these 25, 30 people, 1, 2, 3, 4 of them just got lucky. They were like, you know what? The Russia-Ukraine situation looks kind of bad. I'm going to buy. You know what? Actually, fuck that. That's so stupid. They can't. I don't know how you could. If you're a politician, you just have to be dumb. If you're one of these politicians and you somehow just got lucky and didn't know, it's because you suck at your job and you just are literally not paying attention to anything happening in the world. Every single one of these freaking people should know about what's happening geopolitically speaking with Russia and Ukraine. They should. They really should. They
Kathy.
really should. So I don't see how you can. No, you can't even justify the lucky part. There's no luck involved in this. This is just wrong. The weight and the gravity behind what these guys did is they made money anticipating the deaths of people in Ukraine. Let's not even sugarcoat this. These guys got ahead of the ball game. They said, okay, you know what? There's likely going to be some issues with oil. There's likely going to be some form of conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Let's make money on it before it happens. Mm-hmm. And they did. They bought stocks.
Remember, they did the same things pre-COVID.
Yeah.
When they knew everything was going to shut down. Yeah, well, fill us in on that with what you were going to say.
Well, I was going to say, like right before they got the vaccines out, there was a lot of investment by people in Congress and the government too. So, and this is just, I mean, it's a different situation, but it's the same thing right on the cusp of this action happening. People, they're making money. And, well, they also gave themselves a 21% raise too, today. So, or yesterday or today, but yeah, it makes sense that, and he ain't wrong. He is not wrong at all about this.
Related to oil and war, and they printed massive amounts of money. 20% when the market's down 10%. Way before, by the way. Way before. Look at the gains. Look at this. Stocks included were purchased after November 1st of 2021. You know how far in advance that
Marjorie
is?
Green.
You know how far ahead of the game they were?
Yep.
I mean, this is almost like it was premeditated. It makes you wonder if everything that happens in the market is just basically decided 3-4 months in advance. These guys somehow knew. It really makes you wonder, man. These guys are just crooked. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's hard to believe. I don't know if this is interesting to you guys. I don't know if you want to hear about this, but when I look at this, man, it just infuriates me. I mean, I look at this sort of information and it makes you, where's Pelosi? Maybe Pelosi's watching her back a little bit here, or she missed the mark.
Yeah, she wasn't on this. I didn't see Pelosi on this particular list.
All hail Nancy Pelosi, the greatest trader of our times. Forget Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett is nothing in the light of our Lord and Savior, Nancy Pelosi. It's not even comparable, but maybe she just didn't get in. I don't know. Maybe she's watching her back. Maybe there's some people knocking on her door. I have no idea. But at the end of the day, you do have lots of other names here who have just absolutely crushed it with various different names: XO1, P10, MOS, EOG, LMT, DVN. Just a crap ton of names, you know? Wait, are you seeing the game is rigged? Man, I'll tell you what. This stuff is so discouraging at times. It really is. Like, I think I can relate to everybody here in the chat when I say at times you look at things like this and you think, how will this ever change? How can you ever fix a system like this? Because what it comes down to, these guys, let me tell you, the top 1% of our country, they are so well off. They're so wealthy that if they want to make people disappear, they can do it. If they want a problem to go away, they can do it. They can do it. They can pay it off. Why do you think Nickel just got suspended? Why? I mean, it ties into the same reason that these guys can get away with making money on oil and war before it even happened. They got enough money to make shit happen. It's crazy, man. It's very tough. And the optimist in me is what keeps showing up to the door. You know, I like to think that people can make a difference, and nothing's guaranteed. You know, I have no idea what's going to happen at the end of the day. But holy crap, what do you guys think of this? I mean, drop it in the chat. Let's have a discussion.
Anyway, I love this kid, Trey. Very smart young man. I think he's 21 years old. He's an Army officer. He's had some health issues, but he's been one of the principal YouTubers covering the financial scene for the past year as it relates to the meme stock frenzy and what's been going on. I just thought, you know, he reported on this today, and you know, Warren, a lot of people think that I'm joking when I say pitchforks, torches, guillotines. When?
Yeah.
I mean,
that doesn't sound like a joke. That sounds like a plan, brother. I mean, that sounds like a wish list. Because I mean, yeah, it's gotten to the point where these politicians are just basically just laughing in our faces, like, you're not going to do anything about it. We're going to continue to run over you, and you can only say that so many times before the pitchforks, the torches, the guillotines, they are going to come out. It's just a matter of when. I mean, is it going to happen before there's a possible World War III? I mean, at least right now, cooler heads are prevailing, and they're not putting any no-fly zones over Ukraine, because once they do that, that's going to be game over. Because sure as shooting, somebody, a Russian plane's going to get shot down, and then, as the Joker said, and here we go.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were cashing in. They knew this was going to happen, because maybe this is just my opinion. Maybe this is other people's opinions, but the United States kind of, pushed Russia into a corner on this, right? I mean,
this is decades. This is decades of escalation. And again, I've said this on your show last night. Anytime we're talking about the crisis in the Ukraine, I'm not condoning anything that Putin has done, but this is decades of pushing at the Russians, thinking that it's a certain point that they're never gonna be pushed over the edge. And whatever's going on with Putin over there, with his age, his potential health, potential dementia, and spending all this time in isolation during COVID, recounting the Soviet Union's glory days to decide to make a move like this. Who knows? He could have also seen Biden's withdrawal from Afghanistan, leaving all of our equipment there, and just how he handled that is like, the Americans are weak. This is the time to step up and reclaim our territories that he thinks still belong to Russia, because of historical boundaries.
And of course, so the last thing you want is two nuclear superpower leaders with dementia, with the nuclear codes.
Seriously,
so, you and I both lived through the Cold War, a good chunk of it, and talking about all the propaganda that was going on back then. That who was the one that was before Gorbachev? That was the one when Reagan was president.
Boris Yeltsin.
There's Boris Yeltsin, and then the one before him. But there was always talk with Reagan, and then once Gorbachev got there, and then the fall happened, we kind of got a reprieve. But little did we know it was just a reprieve.
Yeah.
And this stuff was going to build up again 30 years later to this, So I don't know, man. It's though here's a fun thing too, that I heard this that came out now. Nancy Pelosi, who's made like millions and millions of dollars while in office, is now saying that I think we should, I don't think members of Congress should be able to.
Maybe we should put limitations there now that she's ready to retire and she's going to cash out. Now they're going to consider it.
Well, also too, because she's got to say something. They're desperate now because they know the Democrats are going to get their asses handed to them in November. So I made a tweet yesterday. I said to the Democratic Party, I said, what are you guys going to promise us that you're not going to deliver on just so you could keep power? Because I need a good laugh for the day.
What are you going to dangle in front of us and pull the rug out from under us with later?
Shiny keys. Look at the shiny keys. But we've been lied to so many times. It's like, it's like Charlie Brown and the football and Lucy, man. At this point, we're going to kick Lucy. All right, it's like, fuck the football. We're going to kick Lucy because Lucy's Lucy's the one that's been lying the whole time, right? The football didn't do anything. Lucy's the one over there. Yeah, we're going to give you all this. And then nothing. But, but don't kick Lucy. I didn't mean that. I meant that rhetorically. So,
no, you didn't.
I'm a man of peace.
True Democracy Now! Remarks, the saddest part of this openly corrupt behavior is that we keep electing these politicians over and over again. Kathy says, yep, the great duopoly. Bob Bolt from Facebook. I haven't seen you for a while. He's got a St. Patty's Day joke. What's green and white and comes out every St. Patrick's Day? Paddy O Furniture. Boom. Thank you, Bob.
I'm glad I'm lactose tolerant because that was some serious cheese. That was some serious dairy, Bob. Chef's kiss, brother. Love it. Love it. That's old school cheese right there. It was very Gouda.
Is it Gouda or Gouda? Gouda?
Gouda? No, Gouda is what you get in your foot, right? Is the little thing.
That's gout.
Oh, that's
gout, Gouda, Gouda cheese. You say Gouda, I say Gouda. I don't know.
You say Gouda, I say Gouda. Let's call the whole thing off. I think I'm still a little tipsy from last night. I'm not going to lie to you, Jerry. Just a smidge, not anything like I was.
I don't know. You normally always have this kind of energy when you do your shows, though.
I'm in my happy seat. I'm in my Brooklyn Bat Cave here. So, I'm like, I got the nice orthopedic pillow behind me. I have fond memories of my youth that I can recall, and makes me happy. And I have a nice view. I have kids in the school next door that I can yell at. It's a beautiful life, Jerry. Really like it.
While we're talking about your Brooklyn Bat Cave and where you are tonight, why don't you? This. I think this is the second time you've joined Chicago Corner. I think you were on the Christmas show, but you invited me on to your show last night, both Ed and I, to kind of just do a fun little interview. Why don't you tell our viewers here where they can find you on Extra Bullet and what you do and what your contribution is to this YouTube ecosystem of independent broadcasters?
Well, I like to think I'm kind of the maitre d' of independent media. I like to bring on people that who cover the news, who are journalists themselves, who are activists, and bring them on. When they're on other shows, they're usually doing their work. They're putting the message out that they want people to know the news that they need to deliver. But when they come on my show, they get people get to see like different sides of them that they can't normally express on other shows. It's very laid back. It's a fun show, and the kind of Joe Rogan-esque, where in the fact that we just kind of let the conversation go wherever. There's no scripted questions. I'm on the show is called Extra Bullet. It's on YouTube. We do shows on Thursday nights, usually 7 p.m. Eastern, 7-8, depending on the availability of guests. We're also on Twitch, and now we're on Odyssey as well. I say we, but it's turned that W upside down, and it's just me. But it makes it sound fancier when I say we. But it was great having you and Ed on last night. They were on last night, and it was just we
had a good time. After the show tonight, maybe I would encourage our viewers to go check out. And Ed made some delicious looking pizza. I was telling him he's got a contract DoorDash to anytime he makes those pizzas and shows them on a broadcast so that we can have some delivered to us, because it was just mouth-watering, the video that he was sharing with us, his homemade pizza.
I always like to bust like Ed and Kit's cojones, by having the pissing contest with New York and Chicago pizza. But I'll be honest with you, I'll eat any kind of pizza. And what he made, that was the first ever pizza cam that we had on Extra Bullet. Yeah. And it was oh my God, it was great. It was just beautiful. It was like art. He's a pizza artiste.
Well,
that young man Edward is. He
is a culinary genius and with other foods also. We went over to his place last summer for barbecue, and what he made that night was ribs. I always tell him, man, this is your passion. You should open a restaurant or cook somewhere and have them give you credit for like your special recipes and stuff, because he's so good at it. And he's obviously very, very passionate about it. And when we were on your show last night, I loved the fact he had his camera when he was talking, and then he was able to activate a camera while he was going into his kitchen, and it was like
cam,
it was like a morning news show where he was the camera like went into the oven, pulled out the pizza, then he came back to his camera, the production values were very, very high class last night.
We actually we rehearsed that before we went live.
Oh, did you?
It was oh yeah, it was so, I mean, the audio was great, and yeah, it was like you said, it was like a morning show type thing where like he was on location,
like the Today Show or something, yeah, with the multi.
Right, yeah. Ed was not, in his little barn with with Peg Leg and that felonious cow of his.
The cow he likes to take care of all the time. I really like
I was gonna say I'd burn down the town too if Ed was trying to get after me. So
not
anyway,
Peg Leg.
Ed Leg.
Yeah,
sorry. What happened?
I really like the format of your show, though. When I do mine here, Chicago Corner, I mean, I'm no journalist. I'm just commenting on the news, but we are kind of stuck with a format that we present stories throughout the week and talk about them back and forth. But I like the freeform format of your show, and I want to see if I can kind of like do that a little bit here also, at least towards the end of a show, where we can jump off script and the news stories and just kind of like chat back and forth on stuff. Because I think Rogan's format is phenomenal. You don't really have a format. You just bring in interesting people to talk about whatever's on everybody's minds, share viewpoints, agree, disagree, but do it respectfully and in a format that everybody can enjoy.
And I think what Rogan does too, and I do it to a certain extent, it's like, even though it's not scripted, you kind of go in like kind of like you like I am a frequent viewer of Chicago Corner, big fan, long time listener, first time caller, but so I kind of know what you're about, and I know Ed on Twitter too, so I kind of know I knew he was the Mr. Pizza guy, and I know you were like the film connoisseur as well. So I kind of had those ideas. Like, all right, I know I could talk to the boys about these things and we're going to have a good time. And sure enough, it happened. But like what you do and like, what like Hardlands Media does and like all these other important independent news outlets, you, in order to get people to believe you have to gain a certain level of credibility, right? You can't be just horsing around with this stuff. You have to be serious about it because the mainstream media is lying to us on the daily. And even though you may not be out there, as a journalist, you're providing the information that the mainstream media is not going to be covering. So you provide a very valuable service. And so I always tell people, like, what they do on their shows, they're working. And when they come to my show, it's like going to the bar after work and having a couple of beers.
It's kind of like, it was kind of like, and even after we were done with your show, we stuck around, Ed and I, and we were talking with you. It was like kind of like the after show.
It was. I mean, well, you're Chicago guys, you're great people. So, and like I was telling you last night, my old man lived in Chicago for 30 years, and I was born there, but we left when I was very young. But I always lived vicariously through my dad and his stories, talking about the trouble he got into, but also the good times that he had there, and what a great city that Chicago is. So I actually got to go back in 2001, right? It was probably about a month before 9/11. And we took the train up, me and a girlfriend. We were going to Iowa, but we had to stop in Chicago. And it was like 6 hours before our next train left. So we got to go down to Navy Pier and we rode the big Ferris wheel. And I got an Italian sausage sandwich. Almost gave me a freaking heart attack. Yeah, so I got a little taste, it's kind of like, it was the first time I'd been back in, I guess, it was about 30 years. So it was nice. And it felt like home. So it was really
well, look, you said you were born here or you lived here?
I'm born here.
You're born here.
There.
All right. So if you were born here, even if you're not here, you're always going to be a Chicagoan, no matter where you are. We always welcome our own back. So, well, yeah, thanks for sharing all that. And next time you're in Chicago, you got to let us know ahead of time so we can scope out some pizza places and do, we should do like a pizza crawl. You, me, and Ed and Kit, just sample pizzas from different places.
I need to lose about 50 pounds before I get there, because I know I'm going to put 50 pounds back on.
Yeah, that's what pizza does. I used to deliver pizzas in college, and it's when you're there and it's all free, you're always eating it. So it's very, very easy to, so, and tough to get off. But
I worked at a pizza joint down south for one summer, and it was like, you get filled up quick, and I was driving a small car at the time, so I had to watch it, because you can't fit in the car, you can't make it to work. So but I love pizza. So, and Chicago pizza, I can't wait for that.
What do you think, Oreo? Do you like pizza?
Oreo was on the show last
yes,
night
Daddy.
too.
I like pizza very much. I eat it all the time. Anytime you bring it home, I love pizza.
There he goes.
I am your overload, Oreo. I allow you to exist.
He's the real producer of the show. I'm his puppet. There he goes for the keyboard. I hope he doesn't knock me off. Come on, buddy.
Yeah, I know, right? Because I don't know how to host this show, man. I don't know. So if you go away, I'm going to be like, we're going to be playing some elevator music up in here.
Like in the Blues
Anyway,
Brothers.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
What happened?
I was
they're going up
the Blues Brothers when they're going up in the elevator, or the girl from Ipomina or something. What's the name of that song? Dun, dun, dun.
And the SWAT teams outside.
That movie is ageless. When I was a kid, I would go to summer camp with my best friend Steve, and at the time I was kind of stocky. Steve was pretty skinny. And we'd go up to summer camp through St. Mary's Camp, which was like a Greek Orthodox like camp program, and they'd have a talent show. And the summer that the Blues Brothers opened, Steve and I performed as Jake and Elwood in the talent show. And we always kind of like associated ourselves with Jake and Elwood, because I think I told the story the other night, well, at least about mentioning my friend Steve. Steve had this red Trans Am when he was younger, his dad gave him. And he was always the driver. We call him Steve the driver, and I always ride shotgun. And we really were like Jake and Elwood, running around the city at night, getting into trouble everywhere. But man, that Blues Brothers movie, it's just timeless. And what a shame that we lost Belushi early and didn't get the proper sequel with him and Aykroyd. That we got that horrible Blues Brothers 2000. I don't even want to mention it or remember it. It was horrible.
I listen, one of my favorite movies of all time is Highlander, right? And so me and a buddy drove 2.5 hours to see Highlander 2, The Quickening, which we like to call The Sickening, because it was like the worst thing. So when Blues Brothers 2000 came out, I said, no, I'm not going to watch that. Yeah. I'm not going to watch it, because I love the Blues Brothers so much. And there's so many quotes in that movie. My God.
Yeah.
It was just with boy.
Much better left alone, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, hey, Jerry, sorry I'm late. Art, I hope you guys got the boiler under control. Luckily, we had Uncle Warren here able to fill in for you. Art was going to join us tonight. Actually, and he shares, being the trivia trove that he is, Belushi died 40 years ago, last March 5th.
Oh, yeah. Wow. That was...
I remember that day when it was announced on the news, too.
I think that was this past Saturday. Yeah. Oh my God. So young too. All of the good ones. It's like Billy Joel was right. Only the good die young, And that was such a great movie.
That sounds expensive. Sorry to hear that.
That is such a Chicago problem too. Yeah, my boiler blew up. My boiler blew up, yeah, so I'm going to have to get a new boiler there. I'm trying to sound a little bit like Ed, but I don't know how well I'm doing.
You're getting close.
I don't want Ed to kick my ass.
Ghostbusters would have been a very different movie had Belushi lived, because Belushi, I think, was originally Aykroyd's intended lead as opposed to Bill Murray. And of course,
really?
they paid homage to Belushi by having the Slimer ghost. That was kind of like their little homage to Belushi, because Belushi used to like to eat a lot. So
nice.
The idea of like the Slimer ghost was kind of like a little tribute to him. Now, Kathy Powers mentions in the chat the darn hedge funders pipeline are selling Weiss and West Suburban hospitals. They didn't even hold onto them for 3 years. How much did they make? Kathy, I did see that story on Block Club as I was looking for stories tonight, right at the last minute. And I think maybe we will cover that Tuesday because I want to be a little bit better informed and kind of basically come back up to date with what you shared with me, I think it was earlier this year, regarding the situation over at Weiss Hospital with all of the real estate pillaging that's going on over there for that property, when the bottom line is that neighborhood really needs the hospital, not more hedge funds to tear shit down and put in more unaffordable housing. But let's see. Art says, the boiler, it's only money. We're all going to die from World War III soon anyway. Yep. I didn't know that. The movie Dave was originally a vehicle for Belushi. It was made into a movie with Kevin Kline. And I love that movie, Dave. That's a really Kevin Kline, Sigourney Weaver. Yeah.
I once caught a fish this big. This got, like, the big.
There was a movie
really good
prior to Dave that was called Moon Over Parador with Richard Dreyfuss. And Dave is essentially the Americanized version of Moon Over Parador, because Moon Over Parador was Richard Dreyfuss goes to the South American Banana Republic. He does an imitation of the dictator, and the dictator dies. And his head of the secret police, Raul Julia, basically threatens Richard Dreyfuss, you have to play the dictator until we can do a passage of, or a proper, what's the word? Passage of power, right? But Richard Dreyfuss ends up getting stuck there for a year and falls in love with the dictator's former mistress, who's played by Sonia Braga. It's a hilarious movie. But when Dave came out with Kevin Kline playing a U.S. president, or he's playing the role of a U.S. president who's passed away because he does a great imitation, clearly the screenwriters, I think, were kind of taking some inspiration from Moon Over Parador. Both really great movies in different ways as we veer off into movie talk here.
That's not my fault, Jerry. This is your show. Okay?
I know.
I was steering the boat last night. This is you're the Quint of this show. So
I'm going off into uncharted territories here, my boys. Anyway, let's get to our last story, though, because I mean, this, as I said, I like the freeform format of just talking about all kinds of other stuff, not just about Chicago. But we do have one final Chicago story that's kind of serious here. I do have in the show notes that I want to report on. Big surprise. Police misconduct lawsuits cost taxpayers $40 million in 2020, the report shows, and costs are growing. Early indications show police department legal costs have shot up since 2020. Chicago taxpayers shelled out more than $40 million in 2020 for plaintiffs and their attorneys who alleged misconduct against the Chicago Police Department, according to a report published by the city's law department last week. An early indication show the city's police-related legal costs have only risen since. The Chicago Department of Law's 69-page report on the Chicago Police Department's 2020 litigation comes as the law department faces a shortage of staff and pressure from the city council to bring more lawsuits to trial, all as the city approaches 2 full years without a chief risk officer to firm up the city's protections from legal exposure. I have the perfect solution to this, and we've talked about it before. Force police officers to carry liability insurance. Why not? Doctors have to. Every other profession has to. That is at risk for possibly engaging in malfeasance, or misconduct, or accident, or start taking this money out of the guilty cops' pensions. We should not have to put the bill for this.
You have a doctor, right? And a doctor accidentally, cuts a vein or something, and the patient dies. They have the malpractice insurance, right?
Yep.
So there was. This reminds me. Was it the lady cop that was in was it Minnesota? She thought she was pulling her taser out.
She pulled her weapon instead and killed the guy.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, and that very well could have been just like a genuine, there was no intention of trying to murder the guy. I mean, I'm not saying it was. I'm just saying,
but it was an escalation. The escalation probably didn't have to happen. I don't think it was intentional, but going for your weapon to de-escalate at a car stop when the guy clearly was no threat to their lives is just another example of how the instant solution is go for your sidearm or go for your taser. And in that case, she made a mistake, which she went for.
But like you said, the liability assurance, would cover that.
Yeah.
I also thought too that they should, instead of taking it out of the tax coffers, they should take it out of police pension fund too.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah. It would make, I think it would force them to train the police, or the police to train themselves a lot more carefully if they knew that they fucked up or they decided to escalate and then plan on claiming later that they feared for their lives. Okay, you feared for your life. We found out that you really didn't. We found out that you were really malfeasant or you were aggressive in escalating this. It's coming out of your pension. Think twice.
And you do police, and they would police their own, because it's like, all right, now you're fucking with my money.
Exactly.
My money.
That's right.
Not the city money.
Yep.
My money. Right. The only problem is you run into is you have to negotiate that somehow. Unless you just make a straight up law that bypasses the police union. Otherwise, I think you would have to negotiate that with the police union.
Oh, the police union would never allow it. We've got a fascist here in Chicago named John Catanzara, and he very well could have been one of the Nazis in that car that dropped in that opening with the Blues Brothers that you cut for us on the show tonight. Because that's just how fascist he is, and he's planning to run against Mayor Lightfoot. Another clown in the clown car. But yeah, the police union would, and I actually, as we talk about it, I wonder what insurance company would be willing to cover those kind of liabilities, given how much misconduct and how many investigations show that the police are being very creative in the reasons that they decide to escalate it and potentially shoot someone where it didn't have to happen.
Right. And what gins up that kind of paranoia that it just seems like it's just this culture of just paranoia and like
I'm against
generations of hatred too.
Yeah.
That because basically police are the protectors of property. They're not the protectors of the peace. They're the protectors of property. And we've seen time and time again over the years how the police treat people as they, compared to how they treat, the elites and those who
Juicy Smollett. Juicy. They spent a lot of time and money investigating that when from the get-go it was suspect. But look, at least they gave him the due process and let this guy hang himself, since apparently the MAGA racists weren't able to do it with the rope that they put around his neck.
Touche, yes.
Yeah, and I'm making light of it, but Sweden had another situation here last week where the niece of an internal affairs chief officer was driving her aunt's car. Her passenger had, I think it was like $20,000 worth of heroin he threw out the window. The police pulled him over. The niece was a woman of color, and she made it clear to the police officers who her aunt was. And there's no way this young lady would have gotten away with talking to the police officers the way that she did had she not told them who she was the daughter of. Anybody else would have pulled out the taser or what's the word, with a pistol whipped her, given how disrespectful she was, because that's how they normally treat people, unless suddenly they realize you're a risk because you know somebody or you're one of the elites where they have to tiptoe carefully. Otherwise, normally they're, especially with black people in this city. We did a report a week ago where they were talking about how much more racially profiled just regular average traffic stops were, and how those escalate with people of color in our city. Because you hit the word on the head, the nail on the head. It's a cultural thing, police culture, where they are trained. Most of them are trained or follow this philosophy that it's them against us, when no. Why don't you focus on building a bridge with the community? Because that's what we want. We want to respect our law enforcement officers. We want to know we're all on the same side. We don't want to think that you're looking at all of us as being dangerous and you're ready to escalate a situation and pull out a gun, especially if we're a person of color, and potentially shoot us because we don't know our place, because you're the officer with the badge, or in many cases, a white officer with a badge and weapon.
I don't know how it is in Chicago, but here in New York, I mean, our cops are trained by like the Israeli military.
Yeah, I'm sure that carries over here too.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I would think like in major cities, probably LA too. Yeah. All the major cities around the country.
Paramilitary training, not police training, paramilitary training and mindset.
And they have the equipment too. Look at the tanks that they roll out at these like protests and stuff like that. They're coming out with like, just like these armored vehicles against just ordinary citizens out there just doing protests or whatever. And that's all, I thought Obama was supposed to stop that, to keep them from getting that kind of stuff. But then it another disappointment. Right.
Yeah, another one who broke many of the promises that we all had our hope in. What was it? The hope and change line that he gave everybody. Well, returning to the article, which also, by the way, was reported by Alex Nitkin of the Daily Line. I want to give proper accreditation when I share these articles. The city settled 90 police-related lawsuits out of court in 2020, resulting in about $20.7 million in payments to plaintiffs and their attorneys. Juries awarded another $19.8 million among 2 police misconduct cases that made it to trial, the report shows. Another 41 cases made it to trial, but were either dismissed or did not end up inducing payments from the city. The tally represents a decline from 2019, when the city paid about $46.8 million in police-related settlements and judgments, law department records show, and both marked a sharp drop from 2018, when the city spent more than $113 million on police misconduct lawsuits. Perhaps they dropped because things were so shut down for the past couple of years here in Chicago. Yeah. There wasn't as much misconduct to engage in on the streets. City leaders have published the police department litigation reports each year since 2019, in keeping with a requirement of the federal consent decree initiated that year. But early indications show police department legal costs have shot back up since 2020. An analysis of city data by ABC7 found that the city agreed to pay $67 million in police-related legal costs through August of 2021 alone. And the city council has already approved about $20 million in police-related settlements so far in 2022, putting the police department on pace to surpass the $82 million it budgeted for settlements and judgments this year. By far, the largest payout approved this year was a $14 million settlement to end a lawsuit brought by Corey Batchelor and Kevin Bailey, who served a combined 43 years in prison based on a conviction that was later overturned due to new DNA evidence that exonerated them. Can you imagine? 43 years in prison because the police set you up?
Yeah. There's so many stories of that around the country, too.
Just to keep their metrics looking good. They decide they're going to falsely throw someone. And I'm sure the cops probably thought that they were guilty just because, that's what they do. It's lazy police work. But it's also to make it look like they've bring their success level up. 43 in prison on a false. My God.
Have you ever heard of because I've always heard cops will say that this is not true, but at the end of the month they have quota systems that they have certain numbers, but cops will tell you, no, we don't have quotas. And that is the worst lie that nobody believes that lie. No, everybody knows that they have quotas and they have to get their numbers up, not just at the end of the month, but like by the end of the year. And it's just wrong when you're playing a numbers game with citizens, and just some ordinary person
with incarcerations.
Yeah. You could be like just walking down the street one day and not doing a single thing, and then on the next thing you're spending 40 years in prison for something you didn't do. That's a nightmare. That is a nightmare. Kathy
Powers in the live chat. Yeah, kind of supporting what we were saying. Everybody who carries a gun should have liability insurance. If you drive, you have to have insurance. Yeah, this is another rules for thee, not for me, or not for us, where it comes to the police not having to be accountable. I will say there was one good thing our former criminal governor, George Ryan, did while he was in office, and he did eliminate the death penalty here in Illinois, which a lot of people were pointing to the fact that with all of these wrongly imprisoned citizens that DNA evidence exonerated later, clearly there have probably been many inmates that were executed. They could have very, very well been innocent. And they're not all angels, but if you're gonna charge someone imprison them and give them the death penalty, you better be damn sure they committed the crime. And clearly it became an issue of, no, we can't be sure anymore when we discover the police are routinely, maybe not routinely. I broad stroke because it just enrages me. But in many cases will incriminate and pin it on the wrong people for their metrics or their, what did you mention a moment ago? Their what was the word?
Their culture?
No, not their culture. Their the quotas. The quotas.
Yeah. Or convenience too. I mean, they, like you say, going back to lazy police work. Is if they could easily get somebody to, depending on how low their moral scale is, they will. I mean, a lot of these cops will take innocent people, and if it fills their needs, that's fine. It's not their life. It's terrible.
Similarly, the single largest police-related legal cost incurred in 2020 was a $17 million jury award for a wrongful conviction after Jacques Rivera spent 21 years in prison for a murder, which he was allegedly framed by Chicago police detective Reynaldo Guevara. Various false convictions tied to Guevara have overall cost the city one cop, Reynaldo Guevara. The various false convictions tied to him have cost the city more than $75 million, including a $20.5 million settlement approved by the city council last September. But excluding the outlier reverse conviction cases, excessive force claims have cost Chicago taxpayers the most, according to the report. The 133 police-related lawsuits that resulted in trials or settlements in 2020 included 324 separate alleged violations committed by police, including 62 allegations of false arrest, 54 accusations of excessive force, and 42 unlawful searches. Of the 5 costly settlements the city council approved in 2020, 4 were related to allegations of excessive force. And this is the moment where people that I know, some family members would say, but not all cops are bad. Come on, you're being wrong. They protect us. These are the facts. Some do. Unfortunately, not all do protect us and honor the pledge that they take to serve and protect. That's a very, police work, I think, is a sacred privilege if you're going to do it. And most don't take it that way. It's for healthcare, it's for a pension, and it's to give you the opportunity to be a bully with a badge. Unfortunately,
it's a similar road for people who go into the military. They got nothing else going on, and they, and a lot of people who do it they've had some sort of like issues with, maybe anger issues, or maybe have power trips and figure they're going to be in some sort of position of authority, and there needs to be a better way to screen those kinds of people out, because you don't need bullies as police. You need protectors. And talking about I know you was going close to the a few bad apples, right? Everybody forgets the end. The rest of it, spoils the bunch, is the way that saying goes. If you're a so-called good cop, crime is crime, right? And if your fellow officer is doing crime, why wouldn't you? I mean, I understand why some of these people don't do it. They're scared. They're afraid something will happen to their families. A lot of these big cities, that kind of thing can happen. There's a lot of people just intimidation, that sort of thing. But you have to be brave as a cop. I think it's what Jimmy Dore says. A cop's supposed to make sure I get home safe, not that he gets home safe.
Right. We want cops to get home safe. Okay, let's not.
We want to get home safe. Yeah, but
let's not suggest that cops are supposed to or need to sacrifice their lives. But when you hear them say their mantra is that they get home safe and alive every night, then I think that they've kind of lost what the mission of police work is. We want police that are going to see citizens as friends, build bridges with us, not continually engage in all of this excessive force and framing individuals for crimes. This is what costs you the public's trust. And you're right on with that comment about the bad apples in the barrel. I understand that there are a lot of good cops who probably are fearful of their positions in the department, but if the few good cops are not blowing the whistle on the bad ones around them, they're not doing themselves any favors. And I would also say, sadly, they are complicit in this culture of corruption that just continues to let these misdeeds carry on. And I do think it's a cultural issue. We really need to reform the culture of law enforcement. And I don't know where it took a turn into them against us, but that's a lot of, I wouldn't even know where to start. I wouldn't even know where to suggest starting reforming this culture of law enforcement where police are more focused on working with citizens and not looking at every citizen as the enemy, while staying safe. And there are those who probably say I'm being some kind of a Pollyanna here and being idealistic, and I don't know the way the world works. I do. You don't have to feed into the cynicism that says police don't have a choice. They do. They just choose not to. There's an old saying I remember that goes, in many cases, the right thing to do is the harder thing to do. And too many people don't want to take the road of doing the hard thing to do it right.
Yeah. And this is the last thing I'll say about this. One of the other problems, it's like what you were talking about, whereas the police don't really know their citizens. Like here, the cops live, like the city cops don't live in the city. They don't live in the neighborhoods that they patrol. They live out in Long Island, or they live
Copland.
Well, yeah, or in Jersey or Westchester.
Yeah.
It's Copland. Yeah, they don't live in the city. And that's not how it used to be. It used to be your cops were local. Your cops knew everybody in the neighborhood because they lived in the neighborhood. And the neighborhood was usually safe because they knew a cop lived there.
Chicago
it was like
police,
a give and take.
Chicago police officers are required to live in the city, but they're not necessarily required to live in the neighborhoods that they patrol. But God, wouldn't that be like a great direction to go in?
Right.
Have a mandate where the police need to live in the neighborhoods that they police in. That's how you build that trust, that bridge because if they're part of that community, they want to see that community succeed. They would hopefully want to see their fellow neighbors succeed and contribute in a way that is protecting, not looking at everybody around them as the enemy.
And it used to be like that, because I remember my dad telling stories of cops that he knew when he first moved to Chicago back in the 50s, and he said he knew plenty of cops that you'd see when they were off duty, they'd see them in the bar there, and they lived down the street or they lived around the corner or something like that. And a lot of those neighborhoods the ones Dad lived in were particularly safe. It was then that when they started not living in those neighborhoods, that's when things started getting rougher, and that's when my old man said, okay, we got to vamoose, because things are changing. It's not like they used to be when he moved up there. So, if you go back to those, if you get the cops back in the neighborhoods, let them live there, let them meet the people, let them, become part of that little society in those neighborhoods, you would see a world of change.
I think that this is an issue that we are going to be talking about a lot more here on Chicago Corner, and seeing if we can maybe spread this concept, this idea around of cops carrying liability insurance. Because Kathy Powers remarks, I'm surprised insurance companies aren't jumping on this. Imagine the premiums they could charge.
Well, they have plenty of lobbyists, so you would think that they could get the ball rolling on that,
True Democracy Now! Shares, let's remember that our politicians give our tax dollars to our police force, and obviously they condone their behavior. Perhaps we need to be smarter voters on election day. Absolutely. Let me finish up this article, though, with the stats and where Mr. Nitkin kind of brought it to a close. Okay, so I might be repeating a paragraph, but to continue, the 133 police-related lawsuits that resulted in trials or settlements in 2020 included 324 separate alleged violations committed by police, including 62 allegations of false arrest, 54 accusations of excessive force, and 42 unlawful searches. I did read that paragraph. leads on to say excessive force claims remain a significant source of financial liability for the city. The city paid $16.4 million in settlement payouts for excessive force cases and over $1 million after a jury trial involving allegations of excessive force. The settlement payouts for excessive force cases represented 79% of all settlement payouts by the city in 2020. Just on that financial face alone, that's why the idea of police officers carrying insurance could be maybe easier to push forward, because then it's no longer on a burden for the taxpayers.
No.
City attorneys wrote that it is difficult or impossible to draw conclusions based on the snapshots of cases included in the report because of the years-long lapse in time between incidents, lawsuits, and eventual court decisions. Still, the report ended on a pair of policy recommendations, including that the Chicago Police Department should develop a data dashboard to better understand available risk management data to guide long-term policy on preventing misconduct lawsuits. Mayor Lori Lightfoot in 2019 created the position of Chief Risk Officer, saying the office will identify and mitigate potential threats to the economic viability to our city, like runaway legal costs. But the post has been empty since Chief Risk Officer Tamika Puckett stepped down in October of 2020, just like our position of the Inspector General. City attorneys also recommended in their report for the police department to capitalize on efforts to reduce the risk of chase-related crashes by expanding training and tightening its pursuit policies. CPD should continue to work toward fully utilizing this process to examine all vehicle pursuits, including those resulting in litigation, to determine the risk factors for liability and potential injury, the report reads. CPD has begun partial use of the new vehicle training facility and is looking to expand the physical footprint of the driving course by acquiring adjacent properties. A growing contingent of aldermen from police-heavy wards have voted against approving some police misconduct settlements, arguing the city should take some cases to trial to fend off frivolous suits. Many recent settlements have only narrowly declared the City Council Committee on Finance, and the committee deadlocked on one case last month, sending city attorneys back to the negotiating table. This article just goes on and on and on with stats, but the last paragraph, we've also got to make sure we've got a system of accountability and that we're being fair and even-handed with honest mistakes. Oh, wait a minute. I have to reread that, Warren. You know why? We've also got to make sure we've got a system of accountability, that we're being fair and even-handed with honest mistakes, but we have no tolerance for people who are intentionally engaging in misconduct, Lightfoot said. That's a critical part of what the superintendent and I believe is part of police reform and accountability. And it's also mandated as part of the consent decree. And never forget, I have the biggest dick in Chicago.
Yes. You tied it all together, man. You just came full circle. Are you contractually obligated anytime you quote Lori Lightfoot that you have to do her voice? I mean, do you get like residuals for that? What's the story? Come on, you can tell me. Just give me a taste, man. I'm if you're making a little cash off it.
It's my own mandate. just as anytime I get to an article on Lakeshore Drive, I call it Lakeshore Drive.
Oh, nice. What's it called now?
We're not saying what it's called now because it's not called that. It was Lakeshore Drive. It is Lakeshore Drive, and it will always be Lakeshore Drive. You want to know what else they're calling it now? What they spent all that money on putting up new signs while the rest of the drive is crumbling from potholes? It's easy to Google search, but I'm not going to give that pipsqueak David Moore, the alderman who decided to virtue signal by changing the name of Lakeshore Drive while he ignored so many of the needs in his own ward, spent money on what his citizens in his ward needed to elevate himself because Jean-Baptiste Pointe-Sable has not been honored elsewhere throughout the city.
Right.
Anyway,
sounds like some virtue signaling to me to
very much so.
Try and save face with the people, but man, it seems like we both have the same kind of problems. You know, that's why you live in big cities, you got to deal with this bullshit,
Yeah.
I'm sad to say, hopefully it changes though. I really do. I love the people of Chicago. I really want to see better things for all you guys there.
Well, you know what they say, Chicago isn't beyond saving. Give me more time. There are good people here. That's what they say anyway.
There are no good people here, Batman. I'm going to blow up your
Oh my goodness, Bane has returned. We had a good time on Warren's show last night with our Bane imitations.
Where is this Ed Heller so I can sample some of his delicious deep dish?
What a lovely, lovely singing voice you have, Uncle Will.
I love that voice. I don't care who does it. It's just great. It's gold, no matter what. It's just the first time I saw that movie, I was like, okay, it's who's the guy? Tom
Tom
plays
Hardy.
him.
You
Tom
merely,
Hardy, right?
you merely adopted the darkness. I was born in it, nurtured by it. I didn't see the light until I became a man. And then it was blinding.
You hear him in Venom, and he's like, "Hey, everybody! Hey,
yeah, he's a great actor.
Hey, what's this?"
He's good choices.
Good range.
He did a great movie called Bronson. I think it was one of his breakout roles where it wasn't about Charles Bronson. It was about this British strongman and his life in crime, and he was it's worth looking up. I think it was one of his first roles, and yeah, Tom Hardy's. What drove his choice to talk like this when he decided to take on the role of Bane? I don't know, but it worked.
It was It was kind of creepy.
Yeah,
it was like
not what you expected. It was a subversion of expectations, is what they call it.
It's elegantly creepy because it's like it's very. Well, now are you going to eat this last piece of pizza? I'm very hungry.
They adopted that voice on the Harley Quinn cartoon. Also, they decided to take Tom Hardy's inspiration for Bane.
That cartoon
that's a great cartoon.
So good.
It is so so demented and wrong. It makes it so great.
So the girl the lady who does Harley Quinn's voice is Penny from The Big Bang Theory. For those.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Last name Sorkin, I think something Sorkin.
Katie Kuko or Kuko.
Oh, Kaylee Cuoco. Yeah, Cuoco.
Kaylee Cuoco for Cocoa Puffs.
One of those the perfect last name to portray Harley Quinn.
Right. Because that alliteration, that Kaylee Kuko, because it's I don't know. I'm just talking out of my ass now. So I'm just talking out of my ass now.
Kaylee Cuoco, Cuoco.
Cuoco.
Yeah, and I think that she also does the. I think she may have. Well, maybe not. There's a series of great Batman video games. They've got. I just looked up all the actresses that play Harley Quinn. Who knew how many actresses portrayed this character? Anyway,
who's the actress who plays Poison Ivy? Because she's in something too that's really good.
You mean on the cartoon?
Yeah.
Who is she? Poison Ivy actress. Of course, Uma Thurman comes up first. That's not who we're thinking.
Oh man,
Harley Quinn TV series, and let's see here.
The race is on.
You might get sooner than I do.
Pamela Isley, that's her. What is the hell? No,
Her name is Lake Bell.
Oh, Lake Bell. That's
her?
Yeah,
Lake Bell.
Wait a minute. I know who that is. Let's see. She was in okay, I'm thinking of something else. Never mind. I don't know. I went off on that tangent, but I thought
we were on a Batman tangent that invariably took us off to talking about Harley Quinn and others in Batman's Rogues Gallery.
Quit it! You're gonna make me pee.
We were also talking last night about the fact that Tom Hardy may have
taken some inspiration from Sir Sean Connery. There's a little bit of Sir Sean's accent in there. I'll take the tits now for 500, Trebek. It's Let It Snow, Sean. It's Let It Snow. I can rewatch those Saturday Night Live Jeopardy skits with Connery over and over and over again, and they never get old. Brilliant.
I'll play your game, you rogue.
I'll play your game, you rogue.
Oh
anyway.
my God.
All
Sorry.
right. No.
I derail it.
Go off in these tangents.
I derail the train, man. I like that. That's my job. I try to derail the train. I'm a agent of chaos, like Heath Ledger in the Joker. You know,
I'm an agent of chaos. Well, that's Kathy Powers says. That's how we rock in Chicago.
Awesome.
All right, Warren. Listen, I can't thank you enough for filling in last minute here. And to my friend Art, I hope that the boiler situation does not flood you out of your home. We would have liked to. Actually, would have been cool to have Art and you on some night. Maybe we can have a triple threat panel in the future. But you're always welcome back. This was really fun. I'm glad you could fill in for the full show.
Like the Commodore said, I'm easy like Sunday morning. So you know, just give me a heads. You probably sent that email like earlier in the day, and I had no idea.
No, I sent it 15 minutes to showtime.
Oh shit!
So,
okay.
Yeah, I mean that's how. I mean that's when Art contacted me, and they had that crisis over there. So no, you jumped in right when I needed you. So thank you. It all worked out.
Great.
And also, do what in a Lori Lightfoot voice, Kathy? What do you want me to say? Oh, that's how we rock in Chicago. That's Lori Lightfoot.
I've got a big cock.
I can't believe that's our mayor. I mean, we thought Rahm Emanuel was bad with his Rahm fuckface Emanuel with his vulgarities, but Lori's definitely outdone him. So for those who want to check out the interview that Ed and I did with Uncle Warren last night, I am adding it to the chat. There's the link. You can find it on Extra Bulla, which is Warren's channel. As we go into once again, Warren, thanks for tonight, and hope to have you back.
My pleasure, sir. My pleasure.
And as we go into the St. Paddy's Day weekend, everybody, please make sure that you're careful out there. Watch out for each other. Be safe. Be vigilant. And remember, if it's happening on the streets, you'll hear about it here on Chicago Corner.